All right. 2024, week 9. Let's get into it. All right, in week 8, Max didn't have the cojones to bench Mahomes, like I had talked about in the previous podcast, and he paid the price. He also benched Laporta for Fergie. That caused a 10-point swing to go against him. Overall, not a great sit week for Max, but it wouldn't have mattered because he ran into the dueling anal wizards, who came up as the highest scoring team of the week. Despite not having Tyrone Tracy in their starting lineup or even on their team, they managed to score 189 points, man. Not bad Wizards. So the mental erections are trying to climb back into this playoff race and get out of the Sacco race. Max, on the other hand, had a respectable week. He is running into some bad luck. He started off hot, but with 162 points, he does get a loss. That moves him to 4-4, now in 7th. So he's holding down that top 3 spot early, but he is sliding to the middle ranks. The Mineral Erections needed that win. They're now 3-5 on the season, showing some signs of life. They're favored by 20 this week, so they are trying to scrap their way back into it. But who cares? Let's talk about your one and only fearless commish. I said the Mineral Erections would win convincingly, and they did. That brings my record to 6-2 on the season. Just our weekly reminder, my only losses are picking Big Thunder. Good job, Thunder. But, lesson learned, I am not taking that dude again. So, who do we got this week? We're taking the Viking and the Sacco. These teams are light years apart in terms of their record, 5-3, 3-5. This is going to be a bad preview. Why is he doing this game? Wrong. The Vikings actually favored by 19 points despite having only 3 wins. The Sacco's coming off a 180-point week, but AI has them projected for only 139? What's that about? Bluntly, I think the AI overlords got this one wrong. This is going to be a close game, so let's get into it. Quick tale of the tape. Again, coming from opposite sides, we have on the Viking side, he is sitting in 8th place. He is 3-5, but he is 5th in total points scored. He's only had the 7th most points scored against him, so he's just lost a lot of close games. Meanwhile, the Sacco, 5-3, has the 6th highest points, so right in line with the Viking, and they've had the 6th most highest points scored against them. So these guys are literally one apart in both the points scored for and against, yet Sacco's 5-3. So nearly identical team, balls just bouncing the wrong way, and of course the balls are going to bounce in the way of the Sacco. So the Sacco is getting lucky this year with a couple extra ball bounces. So he is 5-3, looking good. Let's kind of get into this matchup. Like I said, I think the Overlords got this one wrong. So let's talk about the quarterbacks. Viking rolls out Daniel Jones and Dak, and Baker Mayfield's or Mayfield's Bakers. Hold on, I don't even remember your team name at this point. You change it so often, Sacco. But he's got Mayfield and T-Law. So, going back to the Viking, while Washington has gradually improved on defense, they were terrible earlier in the year, but with their offense rolling, it's really helped out their defense. But Daniel Jones has certainly regressed. He was a solid starter early. Neighbors goes down. He has scored less than 10 points the past 2 weeks. With Neighbors back and healthy, maybe we can start to expect to see more pass attempts out of Jones than we have recently. I mean, unless they use some common sense and they hand the ball to the NFL superstar Tyrone Tracy every single play, because of course they should do that. But we all know the Giants are idiots and they're not going to do that, so they're probably going to pass it to Neighbors. Idiots. Well, we've got that side of it on Daniel Jones. What about Dak? Well, Dak's had a couple down games, but for the most part, he's scoring 20 points pretty much every week. He's just really lacking that upside. He's had one big game and a couple bad games. So just kind of been okay. Considering Atlanta allows the 10th most points in the league and the Cowboys' defense gives up the 2nd most points in the league, we should see some points scored in this game. It's the highest over-under of the week at 51.5, 52. So if Dak is going to have a get-right game, I mean, this is it. This is exactly where Dak and CD took off last year. They started off slow. They got hot. This might be the game where the Cowboys turn the corner, at least on offense. I'm not even telling you they're going to get a win, but they should be able to put up some fantasy numbers this week. Meanwhile, Mayfield Dreams, that's their name, sorry. Mayfield Dreams, the Sacco, is apparently rolling out Mayfield. Well, that's appropriate. Look, I've been wrong about Mayfield all year. I mean, early preseason, I think my column recorded somewhere or something saying that, he was going to be terrible. I just thought he was going to go full turtle without his, coddle blanket offensive coordinator that left. But then he just looked like college Baker rolling out the year. I mean, I then thought he would suck with both of his receivers going out. And then he goes out and scores 31 points last week. Well, now he goes up against Kansas City, who's been one of the best defenses in the league. Statistics show their pass defense is, middle of the pack, but they're not allowing teams to score. I would assume that he's not going to have a great week this week, but, don't trust my opinion on Baker because I just keep getting it wrong. But one thing I am much more confident in, T.Y. ain't hitting 15 points. Lawrence, yes, he had a good game last week, but the Jags are just a mess. And with all three wide receivers potentially not playing, I just can't see him throwing 2 TDs against Philly. I mean, I might even play Levis if he plays instead of T-Law. This is just a bad matchup. But the Sacco is blinded by his Jaguar glasses, and I'm sure we'll see T-Law out there. All right, edge goes to Steve here, and I don't think it's close. I think Dak does have that big week. I think he pushes his top 5 start this week at the quarterback position. So definitely going with the Viking in this matchup. All right, moving on to wide receivers. All right, Viking is rolling out Darnell Mooney, Neighbors, Jefferson. And on the Sacco side, we have got Chase, Xavier Worthy, and Dontavian Wicks. So in this group, the Viking rolls out his biggest advantage, or his best group at least. I shouldn't say biggest advantage, but his best group. Jefferson has just been very consistent all year. He has not scored less than 16 points in any game. I mean, the guy is just showing the league that he is the most professional route runner, just best receiver, overall receiver in the league. He gets Indy, whose defense, according to statistics, is a solid pass defense. In fact, they've only given up the 8th least amount of passing yards in the league. So they are supposed to be a good passing defense. I just don't buy it. I don't think they're good at all. I just don't think that Indy is a very good team right now. Yes, Flacco might give them, a little boost, a little morale boost. But this game's a 46 over-under, and I just think Jefferson goes over, and Jefferson is the reason. I think he's good for 7 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown, and I think that's kind of the minimum. I just see him having a big week. Now, Neighbors hasn't exactly popped back from his injuries. He did get 13 targets last week, so if he's going to get that type of volume against Washington, Steve Stack should pay some dividends this week. I don't know if they win, but I think that if they're going to do anything on offense, that's who it's going through. I mean, what am I talking about? Tyrone Tracy. He's the man, not Neighbors. Scratch that. Neighbors sucks. He's not getting but 30 yards this week. All right. So Mooney's next on our list. Mooney's been one of the most bipolar fantasy players in the league. He looks like the Lamar Jackson A-Chan that I keep talking about. Big weeks, low weeks. He has dropped as many 20-point games as he has 5-point games. I mean, I don't know what to do with him. Dallas has been a solid defense. Not great, but okay. So I think Cousins should kind of eat them alive. He's been great. I mean, he's multiple 4 TD games. But that assumes that Atlanta doesn't run all over Dallas because, again, just okay on defense. So Atlanta is an offense that can do anything, and I don't see any trends to figure out what their offensive game plan is going to be. It just seems to work for them. So, I mean, I don't even know, are they a running team? Are they a passing team? I don't really know, and you can point to any game to justify any of your positions, but then I can point to another one that completely contradicts it. So I don't know. I think Atlanta's going to do well. I think they're going to score. Uh, I assume that Dallas will try to keep up with them. Like I said, I think Dak has a big game. So Mooney this should be an up week for him. Now, on the other side of the ball, Sacco, you'd think with Jefferson in the or on the Vikings team that he's always going to have the advantage, but Sacco's got Chase, and believe it or not, Chase actually leads the league in fantasy points at least at the wide receiver position. So similar to Indy, though, Chase gets Vegas, and Vegas is statistically a top 7 fantasy defense against wide receivers. But like Indy, I don't buy it. They're a disaster. That team is falling apart. And considering since he can't run the ball at all, I don't see any reason Chase doesn't keep pace with Jefferson this week. The problem for the Sacco, this is where the injury bug hit him. Normally we'd be moving on to Mike Evans, but instead, Evans is on the bench and he is rolling out Dontavian Wicks and Xavier Worthy. Both are just complete dart throws. I mean, they could combine for less than 10 points. Now, Cameron's hope is that they both play bad pass defenses in Tampa and Detroit. Assuming Love plays, I will give Wicks a better shot because Detroit's offense should steamroll Green Bay. They're on fire. Green Bay's defense is not. So it should be high scoring, so there should be passing. But I don't know who it goes to. Nobody does in Green Bay. So, I don't know, just hope that it goes to Wicks. And I don't know, this is Worthy with Hopkins coming to town. I'm just not buying it. So, yeah, here it's just, I think the edge is pretty obvious. Not because of Jefferson, while I think, the Viking gets the edge with his one true Viking, Justin Jefferson, leading the group. I don't think that's the reason. I just think Cameron is really lacking the depth this week at the position. At running back, we have got Breece and Montgomery coming in for the Viking, and on the Sacco side, we have Connor and Etienne. Like I just said, I think Detroit's offense is going to roll. So I think they do it through the passing game, but if you tell me that Monty grabbed 2 TDs this week, I wouldn't be surprised. I think they're just going to score a lot. Now, Breece is capable of a big game. He has certainly shown that. And he's getting a ton of work. He had like 16 carries last week and like 4 or 5 passes. I mean, he's the workhorse. Now, you also know what I think of Rodgers. I think he's washed. This should be where I take Breece, right? However, Houston is a pass funnel defense, meaning they have a top run defense, right? So they shut down the run, but they have a bottom pass defense. They actually force you into the pass. So that racks up the yardage for the offense. So if Rodgers has anything left at all, this is the game that he has to show it. If he doesn't, all of you should just sell your Jets, all of them, except maybe Breece, but all of them. Get anything you can for them right now because their value is just going to keep going down. I'm telling you, I've been saying it all year, dysfunctional teams don't win, and I am betting against the Rodgers resurgence. So what does that mean for Breece? That was a lot about the passing game. Meh. I just think he'll be fine. I mean, he gets enough work. There's not a lot of great running backs this year. He's fine. Connor is probably my second favorite player to draft behind Monty. Everybody knows I love me some David Montgomery. I think he's a great draft day value every year. However, Connor is probably the most undervalued every year. And it's no different this year. Nobody's talking about him, yet he has scored a whopping 2 points less than Monty. And he's the 12th overall running back. He just gets it done every year. I love James Conner. The issue, he gets Chicago this week. And the zona offense is struggling. I don't imagine Conner is better than a 50-50 shot at a TD this week. So, I think he'll be fine. But he's got to get a TD if Cameron has a shot to win. Then there's Etienne. Like I said earlier, man, the Jags are just a mess. And that's assuming if he plays. Even if he plays, I think he splits time with Bigsby. I don't know. I mean, the Sacco's backups are Justice Hill and Eckler. They're not very good either. But I might consider them. I don't know. Not looking good here for the Sacco. I think he needs ECN to get a trade somewhere where they, need him. I couldn't even think of where right now. But yeah, not looking good for the second running back spot in Mayfield land. I don't remember your damn name, Cameron. You gotta go with one, man. At least one for the year. All right, tight end flex. So I combine these two. Viking rolling out Bowers and Ridley with Cameron and the Sacco here rolling out Kelsey and Bucky Irving. All right, second year in a row, rookie tight end is one of the best draft day values. Bowers isn't doing it through the end zone, though. He has got one touchdown on the season. So not very good there. So, while that's not a great stat, it does infer that Bowers is getting a ton of work if he's the second best fantasy tight end, which means he is integrated into that Vegas offense. So he should get work. He gets Cincinnati, but I really don't particularly care about the matchup. He just gets work, so he'll be fine. He's solid every week, very consistent. Ridley, on the other hand, Viking, dude, what are you doing? Ridley has under 2 points. Two. I didn't misspeak. 2 in 3 of 7 games. Fine. He had 22 points last week with Rudolph. Maybe he has a connection with Rudolph and Levis doesn't start. I'm not holding my breath. I am out on the Titans. Maybe Pollard, but that would be about it. So yeah, not good there. All right, moving over to the Sacco. Kelsey, he's alive. This guy decided to show up last week for really the first big game all season. Maybe the addition of Hopkins starts freeing up the middle of the field for him. Maybe. I don't hold out a lot of hope anymore for a big Kelsey season. It's clear they want to run the ball in Kansas City. This is my worst call on a personal level because I drafted Mahomes in a couple places. I thought they wanted to give the big middle finger to everyone saying their offense was bad last year and he was going to come out slinging it, but they just went for it. They know they've got a good defense. They know they can run the ball, and that's how they're going to win this year. So that really does hurt Kelsey. I thought he would be the first look in the end zone. They'd be down there a lot. Even if he didn't get a lot of work, he'd still score 9, 10 TDs. That's just not happening. But he does get a bad Tampa Bay defense. So I can see him getting that 10 to 15 point range, and if he gets lucky and falls in the end zone, it'll be a good day. Now, I traded Bucky to Cameron, and when I did, I was confident that he would take over the job by the end of the season. And I told him this when we were trading. I said Rachaad White is factually one of the worst rushers in the league. Every single rushing statistic, he was dead last in starting running backs. He is terrible. All he can do is catch the ball. Well, we're 9 weeks in, and Bucky has scored 15 points 3 weeks in a row. It happened. However, like his teammate, he gets a tough Kansas City defense. So I'm not holding out hope for a big gain here. While Rachaad White sucks, he does still catch the ball, so Bucky's reception shouldn't be that high, although he oddly had 7 last week. Don't know if that's the start of a trend. Every other week he has like 2. But I don't hold out a lot of hope for the Tampa Bay offense this week against Kansas City. So the edge here, it's nearly a draw. I'm going to give it to the Sacco, though. I think his floor is better. Ridley has a low of literally 0. Could he hit a ceiling? Maybe. But his floor is terrible. And then the other position, you got Bowers, who floor is great, but he's no ceiling with not catching touchdowns. So if the Sacco's team or players hit, I think they would have a better week. So slight edge, but not a lot to brag about. All right, so based on matchups, I see why our AI overlords might not be wrong. Maybe I was a little excited in the beginning, so the AI overlords probably have it right. It's I understand why they would heavily favor Steve, but I still think it's going to be closer than the AI anticipates. But I'm still going to take chalk here. I'm taking Steve. Giving the Viking the win that he needs to stay on the playoff race. And gotta be getting nervous if you're the Sacco. Still will have 5 wins going into week 10. So, just got to muster together a couple more and he should be able to make the playoffs. I don't know. Your point total's not that high. I got to start getting worried here, Cameron. All right. That's it. Week 9 preview in the books. Peace out.